Little Match Girl by Hans Christian Andersen, illustrated by Joelle Story, read by Victoria Alvarado-Rocha, class of 2020. It was dreadfully cold. Snow was falling. Soon it would be quite dark. It was also the very last evening of the year, New Year's Eve. In this cold and darkness, a poor little girl was wandering alone, with bare head and bare feet. It's true that she had slippers on when she left home, but what good was that? They were great big things, those slippers. They had belonged to her mother, so it is not surprising they had fallen off when she had scurried across the road, just missing two carts that were thundering past. One slipper was nowhere to be found, and a boy ran off with the other. It would do for a cradle when he had children of his own, he called out teasingly. So there was the little girl, treading along on naked feet that were quite blue with cold. In an old apron she carried a pile of matches, and she held one bunch of them in her hand. She had sold nothing the whole of the day. No one had given her a single penny. Hungry and frozen, she trudged along looking miserable. Poor little thing. The snowflakes fell on her long, fair hair, which curled so prettily at her neck, but she certainly wasn't thinking about her looks. Lights were shining in every window, and wonderful smells of roasting goose drifted down the streets, for it was New Year's Eve, remember, and that's what she was thinking about. In a sheltered corner between two houses, one jutting out a little farther than the other, she crouched down and huddled herself together, tucking up her legs. But this didn't help. She grew colder and colder. She didn't dare go home, for she had sold no matches. She hadn't a single copper coin to bring back, so her father would beat her. Besides, her home was freezing. It was an attic under the roof, and the wind whistling through that, though the worst cracks had been stuffed with straw and rags. Her hands were quite numb with cold, and a match flame would be such a comfort. Oh, if she only dared to strike one match, just one. She took one out and struck it against the wall. How it crackled and blazed! What a lovely, warm, clear flame, just like a little candle. She held her hand around it. Really, it was a wonderful light. The little girl seemed to be sitting in front of a big iron stove with shining brass knobs and fittings. Inside was such a warm, friendly fire. Oh, what had happened? She had just put her towels out to warm them too when the flame went out. The stove had gone. She was sitting in the cold with the stump of a burned-out matchstick in her hand. She struck another match. It flared up brightly. Where it shone, the wall became transparent as gauze. She could see right into the room, where the table was laid with shining starch-white cloth. On it were dishes of the finest porcelain. A delicious hot fragrance rose from the roast goose, stuffed with prunes and apples. The goose seemed nearer and nearer. She could almost touch it. Then the match went out. All she could see and feel was the cold, unfriendly wall. She struck another. Now she was sitting under the loveliest of Christmas trees, even bigger and more beautifully decorated than the great tree she had seen at Christmas through the glass door of the rich merchant's shop. Thousands of candles were lit on its branches, and brightly colored Christmas pictures, just like the ones in all the shop's windows, were looking down at her kindly. The little girl reached out her hands. Then the match burned out. But the flames from the candle seemed to rise higher and higher, and she saw that they were stars in the heavens high above. One of them rushed across, leaving a fiery streak in the dark night sky. "Someone is dying," said the little girl. Her grandmother, now dead, was the only person who had ever been kind to her, had told her once that whenever a star falls, it is a sign that a soul is going to God. She struck another match on the wall. As it lit up the blackness all around, she saw that in its bright glow, her dear grandmother, how sweet looked, and so loving and so kind. "Oh, Granny, take me with you," she cried. "I know you'll disappear when the match goes out, just like the warm stove, and the roast goose, and the wonderful Christmas tree." And, without stopping, she struck all the rest of the matches in the bundle. Her grandmother must not go. The flames shone out so brilliantly that all around was even brighter than daylight. Never before had a grandmother looked so tall and beautiful. She took the little girl in her arms and flew with her in joy and splendor, up and up to where there was no cold, no fear, no hunger. Up to heaven. In the cold early morning, huddled in a corner, there sat the little girl, with red cheeks and smiling lips, frozen to death on the last night of the old year. The new year dawned on the little dead body with its lap full of matches. One bundle was burned out. She was trying to warm herself, people said. No one knew what lovely things she had seen, and how gloriously she had flown in with her grandmother into her own new year.